Welcome everybody to the Wessex Resins and Adhesives stand, and at this time of the day we're really privileged to be in conversation with Nigel Stuart from Spirit Yachts. I think perhaps if you follow the modern beautiful products that are coming out of the Spirit Yachts yard, and you've been watching the James Bond film from Casino Royale, you might be familiar with the boats that Nigel's building. So Nigel is working all over the world with the Spirit Yachts brand, and Nigel really brings a lot of professionalism to the team there. So it's a real privilege to have you here, Nigel, it really is. But first off, I'd just like to ask you a little bit about your history and about the history of Spirit Yachts.
Okay, a little bit about me first of all. I started off my career at 21 in the marine industry, heading off to Sunsail, repairing boats, fixing engines and things like that. I moved on through the TUI travel, first choice, into the management side of things, before I headed off to work for Discovery Yachts, 7 years as managing director there, and 5 years ago I headed to Spirit. Bit of a leap, everyone wondered why I did it. I saw something unique and amazing about Spirit Yachts. They are exquisitely beautiful, they're high performance, and they're kind of a yacht that when you've got it in a bug in you, you can't let it go. And I could see that there are thousands of people out there who all would desire to have one, and all we needed to find out is people who could afford to have one. And if people don't know what Spirit Yachts are, they are exquisite, beautiful, wooden-built boats, but built in a very modern way, where they will outperform a composite fiberglass boat.
There's been some really exciting news this week, hasn't there, on launches and imminently in the future. Can you just tell us a bit about what's been happening this last week?
So yesterday I went back up to Ipswich, having been at the boat show over the weekend, and we put in the water yesterday a 70-foot motorboat. It is really exciting. It's something unique in the market at the moment, so those people who like Sunseekers Princesses will also like what this boat offers. But it's unique in the fact that it will do 1,000 miles at 18 knots without having to refuel. And the way you do that is you build an incredibly lightweight, stiff structure, and you don't put huge engines in it. It'll do about 25 knots top speed, but at 18 knots it will just keep going. And the idea for the owner is he'll keep the boat in the UK, and he'll head up to Norway and spend weeks of holiday up there. It's equally built to survive hot climates with air conditioning and all the creature comforts that you'll want on a boat like that. So it's clever power management, but fundamentally it's a lightweight wooden structure that allows us to do it. And next week we will be taking out of our shed our 111-foot sailing yacht, which is truly amazing. It's the largest single-masted wooden yacht built since 1930. All built in timber again. Very low, sleek-looking yacht. We will take it out the shed, we will pick it up, and we will put her on the keel beginning next week, and then she will have to cure while the keel curing process goes forward, and 1st of October we will be dropping her into the water.
That's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, I'm so privileged to have had a long association personally with Spirit Yachts, and the company has had a long association with the Spirit Yachts company. But there's something always fascinates me, is what type of customer buys from you, and where do the boats end up?
That's an interesting one. The type of customer we have is the kind of discerning customer who appreciates style, also wants a performance vessel, and performance has to be judged very carefully, because there's performances of race boats that go around the world. There's also performance boats that perform in every way that the customer wants the yacht, motorboat or sail to operate in. So they may want a fast boat where they like to see another white sail in the distance and say, let's take that one on. That's performance, but it's also being acoustically and thermically comfortable to live aboard, that the cabins are comfortable. If their objective is to have a yacht they're going to spend weeks on, we've got to make sure it performs domestically as well. So performance is a careful thing there. They are also kind of people who own other nice items, they'll own artwork, they'll own a nice car. They're not the kind of people who chop and change things very quickly. You'll find that they have nice items that they care for and look after. And just interestingly, on the Spirit Yachts, you'll find that the number of Spirits that have been sold, we've got 70 out there, is about 7 or 8. Very few come onto the pre-owned market, and that's because the owners have had them built for them and they intend to keep them for their life, and if not, for their children to use afterwards, and they do get handed down. So they are the kind of people who value and buy once rather than every 3 years chopping out and buying another one. And they also tend to be really down-to-earth people. They obviously have an amount of wealth that allows them to buy a yacht that we build, but they all know the price of milk. You know, that they are the kind of people that understand value, and they're not frivolous with their funds. They look after themselves and their assets very carefully. It's not a flamboyant lifestyle.
What do you think for you, because I've had an insight into all the things that you're manufacturing. I know your background is in engineering. What for you is the most exciting part of the build process, or something really exciting?
For me, the birth of the boat is an exciting part. Ring frames, laminated wood ring frames. We do something really simple. We draw the yachts by hand. Sean McMillan does that, and then they are converted into digital drawings, where we can draw off sections precisely what we want to produce, and we plot out full-size drawings of those ring frames, and we use a bit of paper several times. So when we plot these out and we put them on a 6 by 8 metre bed, it will have lots of multiple ring frames on those drawings, and we cover that in plastic, and then we put what we call an iron, a 90-degree piece of structure onto those, and we laminate the shapes taken off the drawings below. And what's amazing is you see just a few pencil or printed lines on paper, and very quickly, every other day, you'll see a ring frame come off that is precisely the right size. And that is an amazing bit. The real win to me is the guys then use a bit of software to take off the bevel of a yacht. And as you can imagine, as the boat changes shape through the water, the angle of the ring frame needs to change. The ring frame is 90 degrees to the direction of the boat. But putting the bevel on changes from the top side to the lower side of the yacht. And watching the guys do that is just amazing, because you suddenly see the shape of the boat but in a kit form in ring frames. So that's an amazing bit for me. And the other bit is when the cap rails go on. When the deck is on and suddenly the cap rail go on, you suddenly see the shear line show of the boat, and it just feels like a picture with a frame around her. Suddenly that boat looks finished, and you know you're on the home straight and she'll be going towards soon.
I've often thought that at that stage you've got a valid installation at the Tate Modern. Seriously, isn't it great? What is your take, Nigel, on sustainability? Because I think that would be very interesting to hear that, in regards to Spirit Yachts.
I thought you were going to ask me personally, and I'll go into bars of soap and don't use shower gel. I'm a secret fanatic of sustainability. I joined Spirit 5 years ago, and Sean McMillan was very open to the idea of taking what we were doing already forward. Spirit has always built its yachts from wood. The wood has always come from sustainable sources, FSC wood, but also going right back to knowing where the tree has failed and the forest management. We've taken that further, so we are now buying our timber as a tree, and we're having it machined. We know where the machining is. We make sure the shipping is done in the most efficient way. And the company's taken that on in the last 5 years. We've gone right the way through. We don't print any brochures anymore. We only work on digital media. We have water taps at work. There's no bottled water from the staff, which was done in the past, but that's all been stopped. And that also started to happen heavily about 4 years ago. And it goes right through. Our bins are recycled. You know, we separate our waste. We have very, very little waste. We offcuts of timber go into certain boxes where they're sized, and the guys can then go into those offset boxes and pick out what they need. So we really try and reduce on that. But also in the yacht, having built a yacht, we want to make sure it operates really efficiently. So we've got the 111 that's going in next week is electric drive. It's got 2 diesel generators on board, because we all know that there'll be a day when there's no wind, and a tide, and there's bound to be a rock around. That's what happens. So he's got a way of starting up generators to move. However, those generators will only operate at their peak efficiency, which is 80% load. And they will put all their power into some lithium-ion batteries, which come with a 9-year warranty. So we're not changing batteries quickly. It's a very sustainable long-term operation of that yacht. That's that one yacht. The motorboat we put in yesterday, that has a tiny generator, and the way we've done that again is with smart battery technology, careful power use, and the main engines when they're running will run the house loads, when a lot of power boats will use a generator to do the house loads and the motors to do propulsion. Again, so we're looking at trying to maximise the fuel burn of the engines to be most efficient. And we've got other yachts going out. They've got a 65 with twin electric motors and a backup generator. And most excitingly for me, we've got a 44-foot sailing yacht going out in about 9 months' time, which has no hydrocarbons at all. So it's got a Spirit stove for cooking, but everything else is electric powered. It's got solar panels inbuilt in the deck. It regenerates power from the propeller while sailing. It's taking all that technology, all those sort of things. And it's interesting because as you go down the environmental route of building yachts, you find there are wins in lots of things. You may have heard in the news this week, we've got the first Lignia sailing yacht in the pontoon here. Lignia is an alternative to teak. It's a very sustainable deck timber. And you say, what's different? It looks like teak, it feels like teak. Well, it has some advantages. It will wear slower, so it will last longer, so that the owner gets the win. He doesn't have to have his teak deck done as often. You know, teak will last normally on a deck 10 to 15 years. We think he'll get 5 more years out of that. But the real strange win has been this week is we've discovered that the dew in the morning dries off it faster than teak. I mean, what a win. No one likes sitting with a wet bottom, do they? So sustainability is something you need to take right through the boat, and when you're building the yacht, you need to be sustainable in how you do it, but it's also how that yacht operates. And finally, at the end of life, where Spirit Yachts win slightly, sometime in 100 years, the yacht's likely to come to an end of life. Because it's made out of solid timber, that timber can be reprocessed. There is a thin fiberglass skin on the outside of the boat which could be peeled off, which you and I know we've done experiments on. But the timber could be repurposed into chipboard, into MDF. It has, because it is just a timber, it can be recycled and reused, or repurposed. I've seen bows of boats turned into bookcases. So there's a whole lot there. So in the company, we're trying to be as sustainable as possible. It's a journey, and we're just putting more and more effort into it, and I think we will all go down that route in the future. We're just trying to be at the front.
So that means that possibly if you wait around 100 years, you might be able to purchase some Spirit furniture. I'm sure you'll forgive me for this quick commercial plug, but how important is our collaboration, Spirit Yachts and the West System product and Wessex Resins to you?
I knew it was coming. 26 years ago, Spirit started, and they used West resin from that moment onwards, and we have continued to use it. We have, probably unknown to you, we have actually been out and tried and tested all the other products. I did a big batch of that 3 years ago. I looked at the competition, I looked at the other resins available, we looked at how they bonded, we did experiments with them, but more importantly, we looked at what the backup was like. And some other resins do as well, but it's hard to tell, and there's no real win to use them. We've always seen that your resin has done exactly what it says on the tin, and it keeps doing it, and we have had no failures with it. But more importantly, the backup you guys can provide has been critical. With our 111 project, we had to prove that you could build a large wooden sailing yacht, and that required some tests that involved RENA. And we did load of panels, and you guys were able to give us the support to have those panels tested in a way that demonstrated the glue and the timber worked. And as you're nodding happily, you and I know we completely smashed the testing, and we were way stronger than we needed to be. So that sort of in-depth background backup is actually important. You think with a resin, why do I need a backup? Well, you need it the moment something goes wrong. And in it, the only thing we've ever had go wrong is when we've been doing stuff with new members of staff and you've come along and taught them how to do it properly. There's one bit we did go wrong, which we redid, and you were kind enough to come up the next day, tell us exactly what the guys had got wrong, and then did the training bit. So, not blowing smoke up here too much, but it's that depth of backup that you need. And you know, as I said, 26 years and no yacht problem at all.
That's fantastic. It's also quite interesting to listen to on a sustainable boat that's actually a Spirit yacht. You've also got a Spirit stove as well. Anything, Nigel, and I gather that you've got a lot of content on social media. Any secrets? Anything coming out as a top secret for a film, maybe?
Yeah, I think you have to Google it because I'm not allowed to say anything because I've signed a document. But I'm sure if you get on Google and put Daniel Craig and Spirit Yachts, I'm sure you'll find something fresh that hopefully in the spring we can all see a few images of.
Honestly, Nigel, it's been a real privilege, and thank you so much for coming here. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Where can all these lovely people find out more about Spirit Yachts?
First of all, you want any printed matter, you can't. Go and look on the website. But down on the pontoon, we've got a Spirit 50 CR with the Lignia decking. So if you're curious about what an alternative deck looks like, please go and have a look. And she's a typical example of what I call a racer cruiser, a yacht that's designed to be lived aboard and also joining the Spirit Tradition racing. So lovely yacht to go and have a look at. So please do wander around, and the team will be glad to show you around. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nigel. I'd recommend a visit. Thank you very much.